I want every Canadian to actually think, how do I play a role in this?
Tonight, communities across Turtle Island continue to rally and support the families of Tina Fontaine and Colton Boushie.
You don't have to relive the abuses that took place in your life as a child.
A grassroots community healing initiative helps people learn how to push past hard times.
They feel that they've been displaced.
And some Qalipu Mi'kmaq rally on Parliament Hill over how Ottawa decides their Indian status. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Hundreds gathered in Calgary to honor Tina Fontaine and Colton Boushie, and more people set up camp outside the city's courthouse. They say they aren't leaving until changes are made. Tamara Pimentel has the story.
Through the city of Calgary, they marched, raising awareness and honoring the life of Tina Fontaine.
It is sad that something like this has to happen in order to actually bring glaring statistics out to Canada and the way we're being treated in this country.
Loa Beebe is one of the organizers. After a not guilty verdict for Raymond Cormier, who was accused of killing Fontaine, rallies took place across the country. In Calgary, Indigenous and non-Indigenous gathered in the heart of downtown and walked to Reconciliation Bridge.
I want every Canadian to actually think, how do I play a role in this? How am I treating my peers? Do I understand my peers? Do I understand what this country was built on? Do I understand 151 years later that a modern form of genocide is happening here? And what does that actually say about our country?
A system that put you down.
12-year-old Leanne Gomez says as a youth, she fears for her safety.
I want to see fairness in the world. I just want everybody to be equal instead of others being lower, others being higher. It just needs to be at the same level.
Over at the courthouse, some protesters set up camp to demand change to the justice system. They're following similar protests which started in Winnipeg. Garrett Smith is one of many following suit.
We want to have a feeling of some tangible change, something that will actually be will actually have an effect on the way our people are treated in the judicial systems. So, I don't necessarily can give you a concrete answer of what it is that we're looking for, but we are looking for change, and it needs to be felt.
Smith says in the coming days he hopes to engage with the local community and raise awareness. He says the plan was to continue camping out until concrete change is made, but a recent confrontation with city police put that plan to a halt. Police say the group is trespassing. According to the group, they have until tomorrow morning to take their tent down. Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Calgary.
On Saturday in Montreal, there was a vigil to honor Tina Fontaine and condemn what many, including non-Indigenous people, are calling a broken justice system. Tom Fenario has this story.
Are we just going to do a vigil? Because words are cheap right now.
This vigil was organized to honor Tina Fontaine, but it quickly became a call for change.
I'm here because I want to incite you. I want to incite you to action. I want you to be loud.
Hundreds of Montrealers listened as speaker after speaker spoke of Fontaine's death and how they felt betrayed by Canada's institutions.
On est encore loin de se réconcilier quand on sait que le système judiciaire ne s'applique même pas pour nous.
Everything failed her, and her story is not unique. There are Tinas everywhere, and we have to do better.
As the speeches continued, a common theme emerged. Non-Indigenous allies need to speak out.
It's up to the people to put pressure on their representatives in this government and to say that, enough is enough.
Community organizer Vincent Mousseau is here to show solidarity. As an activist for black and queer causes, he hopes to help by educating others in his circle.
I think it's my role as an ally to bring Indigenous issues into those spaces, and kind of when talking about black issues to make sure that we're not forgetting the struggles of Indigenous folks.
Dexter Zuro Kulasura helped organize this vigil. He says his conscience compelled him to pitch in.
So as a child of immigrants, as a proud Montrealer, as a proud Quebecois and a proud Canadian, I demand of my governments that they take action. And as a citizen and as an activist, I demand of my fellow citizens and fellow residents that we honor our obligations to our Indigenous brothers and sisters by standing up for them.
While the catalyst for this vigil was born of anger and frustration, the good turnout helped end the day with a glimmer of optimism that the tragic life of Tina Fontaine is no longer just an Indigenous issue.
Thank you.
Tom Fenario, APTN National News, Montreal.
It's been over 2 weeks since the Gerald Stanley verdict came down, but the support for Colton Bushie's family continues. APTN's Annette Francis explains.
Local Peterborough artists joined together for an evening of entertainment. They're here to help raise funds for Colton Bushie's family. James Hodgson helped to organize the event.
When you hear a verdict like that, and you hear all of the opportunities that were had to, inflict justice, and none of them actually occurred, right? Like it's bizarre. There should have been. If this was any other nationality of person, and it could have played out very differently.
22-year-old Colton Boushie was shot and killed on a farm in Saskatchewan. Gerald Stanley was charged with second-degree murder in the death of Boushie. He was acquitted. News of the verdict shocked singer-songwriter Missy Knott. That's why she came out tonight. She says music is a great outlet.
And it's kind of always just been my way, and luckily a lot of the other artists that I work with and that are in my community always feel the same way. So we're always happy to put on these sorts of events and bring everybody together to discuss and bring awareness and hopefully, do this some justice.
Tonight's benefit concert includes a feast, a silent auction, poetry and music, and a special tribute to Tina Fontaine. Charlene Green is here to show support. She says the verdicts both in the Stanley and Cormier trials were alarming.
We raise money for Colton Bushie's family. We think about all of these injustices, not just from today, but from generations past, and it motivates me personally to want to do more, to try to build relationships with people so that we can start those talks about what real justice looks like for Indigenous people.
The event raised over $3,000 for Colton Bushie's family. And as this fundraiser ends, calls for support for Tina Fontaine's aunt, Thelma Fable, continues. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Trauma at Barrier Lake First Nation has reached crisis levels, so the community held a week-long workshop at the Friendship Centre in Manawa Ki Quebec. APTN's Todd Lamarand attended the graduation ceremony. Despite the somber reason for being there, the mood was upbeat and forward-looking.
Tanner, for winning all my damn life.
22 people completed the trauma recovery program, made up mostly of band members from Barrier Lake. Jenny Rath spoke publicly of how hard and heavy an experience it was.
It opened a lot of things for me that I didn't know I really was.
She says the program opened up her eyes, especially as to why she often used her sharp tongue.
I was just trying to solve everyone's problem by shutting them up, and you can't really do that. You can't just go in there and attack them personally or their past or their trauma. You can't do that. You just basically have to listen to them, hear what they have to say, why are they reacting like that, and then you don't need to be confrontational.
Kathleen Deshane-Kayer is Barrier Lake's social crisis advisor.
You learn that you're healing your memory. You don't have to be re-triggered. You don't have to relive the abuses that took place in your life as a child or a teenager.
She says the program is especially needed because of a recent rash of suicide attempts in Barrier Lake.
And then from September until now, we're up to 13 suicide attempts. And that community really did not have suicide attempts in the past.
The community has been under third-party management for several years. Duchesne Kayer says that affects crisis response.
We also need to be able to control our own funding, not to have third-party management dictate to us what we can have and what we can't have, which resource people we can hire, because we know best.
The goal is healthier community and families, which Jenny Ratt believes she can contribute to.
And I know I would be able to help them out instead of leaving them in their trauma. I can help them reach out for resources, you know.
Duchesne Kayer knows this program won't solve everything. That's why she'd like to see it happen 4 times a year. Todd Lamoran, APTN National News, Manawa Ki Quebec.
Time for a quick break, and then we'll look deeper into the unique online buy and sell culture that connects communities in the Northwest Territories. Here's a look at Tuesday's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, sunny and 6 above in Fredericton, -6 in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, -2 in La Grande, +8 in Montreal, +1 in Quebec City and Saguenay, where snow is on the way, +11 in Windsor and Peterborough, 12 above in Toronto, 5 in Sudbury, +4 in Timmins, +3 in Thunder Bay. Sunny across northern Manitoba, -5 in Thompson, Norway House, and Island Lake. Sunny and -2 in Winnipeg on Tuesday, -1 under the sun in Dauphin. In Saskatchewan, -2 in Regina, Yorkton, and North Battleford. 0 in Meadow Lake, +1 in Buffalo Narrows. Welcome back. Last year, footage that showed clouds of blood coming from pipes at 2 fish processing plants in British Columbia caused widespread concern in the province. The footage prompted the provincial government to test those 2 facilities, and the results show Piscine reovirus, a controversial virus that could be harmful to wild salmon. Lori Hamlin has more.
This footage of effluent spewing into the ocean from pipes at 2 farmed fish processing plants on Vancouver Island went viral last November. At issue was whether Piscine reovirus, also known as PRV, was in that effluent. PRV is a potentially deadly virus that has been linked to heart and skeletal muscle inflammation, or HSMI, in farmed fish. Alexander Morton is an independent scientist that's been warning First Nations and the government that PRV is a threat to wild salmon. Morton's findings show that wild salmon exposed to open-net fish farms are much more likely to be infected with the virus.
It's heart failure for wild fish. A wild fish has to be a supreme athlete every single day of the year to catch food, to escape killer whales, to escape sea lions. They can't be wandering around in heart failure.
This footage immediately caught the attention of the new NDP government. It's the provincial government that signs the tenures for fish farms, which are up for renewal this summer. The ministry tested the blood water from both facilities in the video the first week of December. Lab results came back positive for PRV, but that isn't surprising. Jeremy Dunn from the BC Salmon Farmers Association says PRV occurs naturally.
PRV is known to be carried in the blood of some salmon. It's quite prevalent on salmon farms.
Effluent from most fish processing plants in BC is treated with a disinfectant to kill off bacteria and pathogens. But the treatment is not calibrated for PRV.
So that hasn't been a virus of concern from a wastewater treatment perspective. That virus is under considerable scientific study. The science to date would suggest that this virus is relatively harmless.
But conflicting science has the BC government concerned with PRV. The province says they're committed to protecting wild salmon and are now reviewing fish processing plants, which will include inspections of 28 facilities. In a statement from George Heyman, the the Minister of Environment and Climate Change Strategy. He said British Columbians expect their government to ensure any discharge into the water is safe and does not threaten wild salmon. The report is expected by the end of this spring. Lori Hamlin, APTN National News, Vancouver.
A Newfoundland Mi'kmaq band is calling on Justin Trudeau to help preserve its identity. Members of the Qalipu Mi'kmaq First Nation rallied on Parliament Hill on Saturday. They spoke out against a federal enrollment process that decides who's in and who's out. More than 100,000 Mi'kmaq applied for status, but only about 18,000 are expected to be eligible in the spring. Qalipu's chief says the enrollment process has divided families.
They've been displaced. They feel sadness in their hearts over what happened, and they're asking me and others like me to try to help out. And I'm asking government to work with us to try to fix some of the problems that we've seen in the last little while with this entire enrollment process. This has not been a good thing for our people, and this is not a good situation for Canada.
APTN has brought you stories on the high cost of shipping for goods up to Northwest Territories. But what we haven't shared is the unique online buy and sell culture that connects communities. Now, one post is gaining attention beyond the North. Our reporter Charlotte Mort-Jacobs has more.
To the rest of the world, the Northwest Territories may appear off the grid, but to those north of 60, we are connected more than ever. At the click of a button, people from all 33 communities take to social media buy and sell pages to purchase everyday goods. Sometimes the posts are funny, like, trade old minivan for skidoo, or anyone have a caribou skull I can borrow? And sometimes the really odd ones go viral. This is Byron Nazcathy from the small community of Dilo, an avid user of Yellowknife's official classified group and the author of a post which reads, "Selling my uncle's full teeth set, only worn 3 times. Only reason for selling is he owes me money, so I took his teeth, serious inquiries only."
I was on my lunch break and thought about my Uncle William. He does have dentures, but not a full set, and I just kind of thought, hey, if I post just a random pic of dentures online, say it's my uncle's, and that he owes me money, and the only way I'll get my money back from him is if I sell his dentures.
In just 3 days, the practical joke post has seen over 55,000 shares, and the reach has been global.
Hello, Byron. I'm interested in the teeth for an art project. However, I will need them posting to the UK. Marianne from New Zealand told me that I've been reported to the police. Dude, you're famous here in Ottawa. You made the news. Need more comedy from you? Maybe your aunt will owe you next time.
You won't find buy and sell sites like Kijiji or Craigslist in the NWT, and shipping costs can be upwards of $2 per pound for fly-in communities, making Facebook the perfect platform for products, services, and the odd joke post. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
For the past 30 years, she's been acting and producing some of the most beloved productions. Now Jennifer Podemski is finally being honored for her work. More on that after the break. Here's the rest of Tuesday's weather forecast, picking back up in northern Alberta. Sunny and 0 in Peace River and Grand Prairie. +1 in Edmonton, Calgary, and Medicine Hat. Warm on the west coast, 10 above in Victoria. +6 in Campbell River. +2 in Prince George and Smithers. +1 under the sun in Fort St. John. Mild in some parts of Yukon, -6 in Whitehorse, -3 and snow in Watson Lake. Over to NWT, 0 in Fort Liard, -3 in Trout Lake. Cooler to the north, -21 in Sax Harbor, -20 in Polituck. A bit of a warm-up in Nunavut, -14 in Arviette, -15 in Whale Cove, -25 in Igloolik, Tallyoak, and Joe Haven. Welcome back. We recently brought you the story of a group of young hockey players from northern Manitoba vying for the top prize in a nationwide contest. Today, Chevrolet Canada announced the Paw Huskies are this year's winners winners of the Good Deeds Cup. The Huskies beat out 9 other teams competing for $15,000 for the charity of their choice. Teams were required to make a video advocating for their charity. The video with the most views won, and approximately 45,000 people viewed the Huskies video. Money will go towards food and supplies for the town's only homeless shelter.
We're from a small town. Like, our team is, we have like 12 kids or 13 kids on our team. The PAW has 5,000 people. Our hockey association is pretty tiny. To get this kind of response is just incredible. It's an incredible feeling.
Great work, Huskies. For 30 years, Jennifer Podemski has been working in Canadian film and television. And she was honored for her work at the 75th ACTRA Awards. Beverly Andrews was there and has more.
And this is only the first half of your career. I can't wait to see what you do with the next half. So congratulations, sister. I'm sorry for ruining your makeup. You deserve this.
ACTRA Toronto awarded Jennifer Podemski the 2018 Award of Excellence for her work on and off the screen in Canadian film and television.
She's been so inspirational for so long, as first of all a fabulous actor, and then a writer and a producer.
Podemski began her career in 1988 as a background performer.
I always dreamed of becoming a performer, just from when I was little. I think if you know that that's what you want to do, you kind of just have to figure out a way to do it.
As her career grew, she noticed the lack of Indigenous people writing, producing, and directing. So she started a company and became co-owner of Big Soul Productions, which produced the award-winning TV series Moccasin Flats in 2003.
Well, if we're not involved in film and television, then we can't change the narrative. We can't, tell our own stories. And I think what's happening, or what has happened over time, is that, the colonial experience has been celebrated and perpetuated, sort of rendering the Indigenous voices almost silent.
She worked on many productions throughout her career, including the series The Other Side and the film Empire of Dirt, which Podemski not only performed in, but also produced. In 2005, Podemski founded her own Red Cloud Studios, dedicated to showcasing Indigenous narratives. The 2015 winner of the Award of Excellence, Tantu Cardinal, has been acting for 40 years, appearing in over 70 projects. She says she had to work with scripts written by people that didn't really know Indigenous life.
The issues are always there, but there's more characters that are more true. Some of the stories are getting more expansive, more full.
As more Indigenous people are getting involved and working in all forms of film and media, Indigenous stories are being told from Indigenous perspectives.
Jennifer just wrapped up Future History, a doc-series which will be airing on APTN later this year. And she is currently working on several other projects. Beverly Andrews, APTN National News, Toronto.
Huge congrats to Jennifer on the recognition. So many great roles and productions over the years. That is your APTN National News for this Monday. For news anytime, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.